Welcome back to another episode of The Art of Unraveling. I am so excited I think I say this every time, but I always get so excited for whoever I have as a guest because it's just so much fun. It's so much fun to bring other people onto the podcast. It's so much fun for me not to have to, create the whole podcast myself and to really just kind of work off of what the guest is bringing. And today I have just one of the most lovely people on the planet, Miss Jess Bradford. And we did not know each other a year ago, did we?
No.
We did not know each other. She responded to, I work with body and soul a lot. Actually, I just had Julia Tyson on the podcast just before you, Jess. And Julia is so gracious in letting me share about the Lightworker Academy program with her group, her people. And Jess responded to that. And it was just like such a perfect match. One of those just divine matches where I love how I'm collecting soul sisters through my programs. And that's really in my clients, it's really what happens. Like you end up becoming soul sisters with some of these people, and it's beautiful. So anyway, that's my story with Jess. She did my Lightworker Academy program in 2022. We're still kind of working through it now. It's kind of come to a bit of a close, but there's still more work to be done. And it's just been a joy to watch you just transform throughout the year. And yeah, you're just in such a beautiful place now. And I've just seen you go through so many we go through the highs and the lows just naturally. And it's just a beautiful process to be able to be there for somebody through that journey for 10 months, which is what we went through the program together with. So Jess works at Dupaco. Is there anything else? You're an accountant at Dupaco, and you've been doing that for a while. She has 3 beautiful children. And yeah, anything else you want to share to introduce yourself, Jess, that I left out?
Yeah, no, that's the basics. Yeah, I am married to 3 kids and working as an accountant, and yeah, from Minnesota originally. So yeah, just a busy life.
Yes, very busy.
Yeah.
Amazing. So we kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the Lightworker Academy program today. And so Jess, what kind of sparked you to join? Like when you saw that email go out, I know we're going to go into some fear that came up after the yes happened. And that's so normal. You're not the first I've had to talk off the ledge. But as I say, talk off the ledge. But
Yes.
what was that first inspiration where you just were like, oh, I feel like I need to do this? What made you feel that way?
Yeah, because I had been talking about very similar concepts for a few years, ever since kind of diving into the spiritual kind of I don't know, the Conversations with God books in 2020. It was a very pivotal year for so many people,
Oh
and
yeah.
myself included. It just kind of blew the roof off of what I thought was real, and what I thought were my priorities and kind of my passions. Things started to light up in me that I didn't know were there, that just need to help people, do something a little more, I don't know, grounded in passion and service or of some sort. And just I got so interested in the idea of the energy healing and the Reiki, those sorts of things I had not had exposure to before. And I kept talking to my husband about it, oh, this is so cool. This is so cool. This is so cool. And then he's the one that actually saw your email originally and brought it up to me one night. He's like, this is everything you've been talking about. Exactly what you've been talking about. Do you want to look into it? And I'm like, oh, no, I couldn't really, truly, honestly do it now, and then it just so happened, because then one of my arguments was, oh, when am I going to have the time? When am I going to have the money? All of the lack mentality.
Oh
And
yeah.
then his uncle, his great uncle, passed away that same week and left us the amount of money that the course was. Like, it was
Oh
like
my gosh.
exactly to a T. It was
I don't
ridiculous.
think I knew this, Jess. I don't think I
Yeah,
knew that part.
it was like the most synchronistic
Wow.
alignment thing that has happened to me up to that point. And it was like, oh my goodness, I actually do have to think about doing this. I really think I should. And it, like you mentioned, it was one of those, okay, I'm going to answer the questions. And then, oh, nope, I really can't do this. And then, oh, I talked to her. I really like her. She's so nice, but oh no, this isn't really for me. Like, and doing that back and forth for like, what, a month or something? Yeah,
I don't
but
remember how long it was, but and
it was,
even after there were different times where it was just like something in your life, we get busy. It's 10 months. It's a long journey to, definitely things come up in 10 months that make you go, I don't think I have the time to do this, or I
mhm,
gotta, like
mhm.
the fear will try to block you throughout the journey.
Yes. It has tried quite a few times, but there's always those little nudges that keep coming back in. And I feel so much better when I'm following this pull that seems to be coming from my soul. And I can't deny it. And I just keep coming around to that. And so I'm just so grateful for your guidance and how what I've all learned in the last 10 months plus here, trying to wrap it all up. And I'm just like mind blown as to how much I've learned.
Hmm.
Yes.
And I know you're kind of still in the program and we'll talk
Yes.
about that in a second, but what do you feel has been a change or the biggest change you've seen since last March when we started to in 2022 to now the end of February 2023? Have you been able to pinpoint anything? Sometimes it's hard when you're in it to really see the change, but anything that you've noticed?
Well, I've been told by quite a few people that there's been like more confidence coming out in terms of like how I approach situations, like less frantic, like, oh my gosh, panic, panic, I gotta do this. It's like I was in hyper do mode for so
Mm.
long. And I think the biggest thing coming out of this course is that self-awareness and being able to identify just the little things that we can do for ourselves that can make such a difference in how we approach our reality.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Jess, I really want to go into now because I think this is something like what human doesn't struggle with imposter syndrome? Like, we all have that, whether you are starting a new journey or in the middle of, being an accountant, right? Like, we all struggle with imposter syndrome. There's always going to be, like, I have to tell myself this sometimes, like, Erin, there's always going to be somebody at your job better than you, and there's always going to be somebody not as good as you. Like, it's just always, that's a matter of fact. It's fact of life. There'll be people better or more successful, whatever that looks like, and there'll be people that are less successful. And it's a spectrum, right? But if we're just focused on, I don't know that I have what it takes to do this, like,
Mhm.
that's what stops us. And I've seen myself go through that journey, and I watched you kind of go through that
Mhm.
during this training where it was just like, not that you were going to like drop out of the program, but more that you were just like, yeah, I'm just going to take this for me kind of a thing, or I'm just going to not, do this for others when I'm done because I don't think that I'm as good as other people or whatever.
Yes.
Talk to me about that, like, because
Well,
it's just such a thing that we all struggle with.
it's absolutely the biggest roller coaster that I've been riding this year. That
Yeah.
that voice, it just last week had the same exact argument with myself again. And even my
Tell me
mother-in-law.
about the argument. What does it go like? Tell us.
Well, my mother-in-law actually voiced it, and I must have said it to her the last time I saw her, and she took that as my most confident statement was, well, if nothing else, at least I'm benefiting from it. And then it was like that whoosh of relief, like, yeah, I got what I needed out of this. I don't really truly need to go any further because it's fine. Like I can work on this stuff with me and my kids, and I'll help them through school, like, school challenges and things. And I am so good at making myself feel better that way.
Oh
And
yeah.
again, last week, I was talking to her and she's like, well, yeah, like you said, I mean, if nothing else, you're getting a lot out of it. And it was weird when I heard her say it, I felt disappointment.
Ooh,
And I'm like,
love that.
oh, maybe that's not what I want. Like, I don't know. And so it's kind of been, again, this back and forth of like, I really, really want to make this happen for the benefit of those who are like me, out there. I know there's people I can help since I brought myself so far. That's the next step. It's like I can sit and work on me as long as I want, and I will, because clearly it's never ending. But in the process, I could help others too. And why wouldn't I do that? Like, that's just,
Right.
yeah. So but next week,
But
it's
big
just, yeah, there's that voice that's just like, but there's so many other people doing it. And
mm,
I'm an accountant. What am I gonna say? Like, yeah, so I'm an accountant, I'm gonna help you. It's just, it sounds weird in my mind, but again, it's about just taking those little baby steps and trying to push myself a little further past that comfort zone.
right. And that's just the voice of the ego that wants to
Yeah.
keep you safe. It's really just trying to protect you. And we need that in life, except when we are about to go, try something new, then it's like that's when it's really works against us, because it's like,
Yes.
oh, just you're fine, just use this on yourself and your family, you'll be good. And yet your heart, and I know your heart and soul, are saying, yeah, but this is a part of your mission. I talk a lot about like in the copy for the Lightworker Academy about, like, I really believe lightworkers, we came here on a mission, and that was
Mhm.
like placed in our soul, in our heart. And if it's there, if it's there, and if you're not, like, I know right now I'm not fully answering the call of my soul. And that's where I've kind of been going through this transformation process myself. But we know when it's there, and it's just a choice point, and it doesn't have to be you jump from one life to a whole other lifestyle and now you're like this, zen energy person,
Yes.
but it's it's being able to show up and help other people in a way that works for you, and
Mhm.
just getting out there and doing it and trusting that you have the skills and the knowledge to do that, and
Yes.
just taking the step forward of like putting yourself out there and saying, okay, I can help
Right. Right. That's the biggest part too. It's that whole like, even in the middle of the course, and when I was having those doubtful moments, it was like I was getting so amped up on the calls, feeling like, yes, this is exactly it. And then by the time the next week, it was like 6 days. And then it's like, oh, nah, I don't really know if I can do this. Like, and then you get on the call, yay,
you.
and I'm like, come on, I need to stop uh, getting in my way and try and figure out what this is. And like you said, the more steps to make it more real, it's exciting and empowering. And it's like the more that I sit and wait and think and wonder and analyze and stuff, the more I let myself get in my way.
100%. The more room we give the ego to be like, yeah, nope, let's not do that.
Yes. Yeah.
And I told you this, Jess, and this stands true for anybody that takes the Lightworker Academy program. Like, I will not let you not do this, I will be there to be like, hey, have you put yourself out there yet? And so on and so forth. So
Mm, so nice.
now I know, is it tonight you have your first real quote unquote real client? So as a part of the training, they
Mhm.
have to see 3 people, either, kind of outside their friend group and close family group, to be as clients for 3 sessions each. And so Jess is kind of just
Yes.
starting that.
Yeah.
So
And
that's probably bringing more feelings to the surface.
I know. Ask me a month ago and I'd have been like, nope, I'm not doing that. Nope, I'm fine. I'm good. So now here I am, and I have this call scheduled in a couple hours, and I'm like, oh boy, okay, sweaty palms, but I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be okay. Like, just, it's about like leading from the heart. And I just have to keep reminding myself, shut the brain off for a minute and just feel into the conversation. And that's going to be a good practice for me, because it's not in my accounting world. It's brain, analyze, analyze. And so it's
Yes.
just really trying to retrain and refocus. And it's been so beneficial for my health, my, physical comfort and those sorts of things. It's just, I can see why I'm here. It's just need to build that confidence.
Well, I kind of didn't give her a choice. I actually reached out to somebody that I know,
Yes.
a dear friend and person that I know, and said, hey, would you be interested in doing this? And she said yes. And so Jess kind of didn't get a choice there.
Thank goodness, because it was like the ball started rolling and it was just like too fast for me to catch and say, wait a minute, I don't know. And so I think that's what I really truly am grateful for, because then it kind of, now I don't have a choice. It's like, okay, this person is waiting for me and I'm here for her. And then after that, maybe I'll think, oh, that maybe wasn't as scary as I thought. Like maybe I could, do another person, maybe, like that's
Yeah.
kind of the approach anyway. Just, don't have to jump off all at once. I don't know.
I just love this conversation because I just think, over the years, this program used to be called Alchemy. Now it's the Lightworker Academy. And over the years, I've talked to many people about doing the program. Some of them never did because they just were like, well, who am I to do that? There were the questions of, who am I to do this? There was also the thought of, well, I have so much of my own issues. Like, who am I to like be a coach? My life isn't perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And, that again is that ego stuff that gets in the way. And it's like, my life's not perfect either. And I've been doing this for over 13 years, so there is no such thing. That's just, and if we, and, I'll say this to you and I'll say this to anybody else listening, for whatever your dreams are, if we listen to that voice, that's where we stay. It's actually harder to go against what your soul and heart is asking of you in the long run, right? It's not comfortable when you're like, well, I want to do this, but I'll just, nah, it's just probably not for me, and then something will come up and you'll have to feel that every time, rather
Mm-hmm.
than feeling the discomfort when you're scared to like see that first client or even that 10th client for the first time. That's just like a little bit of pain, but it's so much more painful when you live in the suffering of not doing the calling that you're here to do. I know, because it's, again, I'm being asked to let some things go so that other things can flourish. And so I just want to share that we think it's more scary and going to be more painful to do the one thing, but it's actually worse. And you have to, sorry, just a little side note here, you have to tell your brain that, because the brain goes away from pain. The cells of our body are literally wired to go away from pain and towards pleasure. So if you, comfort is pleasure, right? I just recorded a podcast about this lesson. So it's like you're in this little circle, and anytime we hit the edge, so you're right at your edge right now, Jess, where it's like, because you hit the wall at the edge of your circle, the circle of your comfort zone, and now you're feeling all of this like, ugh. But once you get over the there's actually so much good on that other side. But most people hit the wall and they're like, nope, forget it. I'm going to go back into the circle. It's comfortable here. I know this pain, I know this discomfort, but it's safe because I know it.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally, totally. And that's like beyond, so perfectly explains my whole experience this last year, like trying to deny myself this course and this progress and this growth. Has been, I don't remember a time in my life that I've ever felt such a huge contrast between feeling like I'm on the right path and like, even though I had the voices and all the doubts and all the whatever, it was still better than when I said, no, I'm just not going to do it. I don't have time. I don't have, it's never going to work. I'm just going to embarrass myself. Blah, blah. Like on those weeks that I would go down that path and just let myself go down that path, my whole life, it felt like it fell apart, like in a way that it never has before. Like I've hit lows, like emotional lows that I didn't even think were possible in those weeks when I decided, no, I can't do it, and it's like, it took me a while to see the pattern. And then now that I've acknowledged it, thankfully, I've been able to make those moments shorter and shorter, where it's like, maybe a day I'll be like, no, I have too much crap. I can't help anybody else if I can't help myself. And then it'll be like next day, oh, never mind. I can't deny myself this or I will be miserable. Like let's just keep going. I see what happens, whatever, whatever happens is meant to be, but clearly I need to follow this. So I don't know.
I
We'll
love that. I love that because I think when we put ourselves, like every week you're doing work, right, on yourself, because the whole program is designed that we work on ourselves first before we help. You're always your first client, right? So you're working through your stuff with the tools. And for you and most people, but especially being, like you said, an accountant, where it's in your head, you're analyzing. A lot of what we learn is about getting into the body. And so that's creates a lot of unraveling. And I feel like from my own experience in going through the journey as well, that like things start to get worse before they get better. I can attest to that, where it's just like, I don't remember my anxiety ever being this bad.
No.
But it's like, it's got to kind of like, because we've probably repressed it in some way. We've probably numbed it in some way by, for me, it would be like, I just need to go eat some French fries, go through, it was like anything like, or go through Starbucks or something, anything to alleviate the feeling of that anxiety. And so it's like, it's probably always been that bad. I just didn't let myself feel it fully.
Yeah, totally. I found that I've lowered the threshold of what I will allow myself to, like even the other day when I was in one of my little pity parties again, and I started doing, and I was like running myself into the ground all day long. And then I stopped and I'm like, I won't even let myself sit down. Why won't I let myself sit down? And then it's like, oh, I'm trying to mask the fact that I'm afraid of this, next step of like, taking this client, like, what if I can't help her? What if I, and that sort of thing. And it was just getting me into like, I need to do something to make myself feel like I'm accomplishing. And it's like, it burns me out so much faster now, which is good. But just being able to look at it in a way that I haven't been able to before has just been interesting.
Even just how you explain that is just amazing, that you had that awareness. Like you were able to just go boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. And I've never been able to do that before. Like I would go weeks and like, be in this horrible mood and take it out on everybody and all of that. It's like being able to like that's kind of what I was speaking to before, that awareness of what am I doing and why, rather than just get through to the next thing.
Yeah. And I always tell everybody that takes the program to, like, the program in and of itself, like the teachings and everything that you learn is so beneficial and life changing. But the real meat and potatoes and the
Mhm.
real work happens when you start seeing those first 3 clients. And so it's just going to be so empowering, Jess. Like, it's fun that we're getting to do this podcast before you get to see your first client because, and by the way, they work with each other in the program. So it's not like this is her first time working with someone, but, and with me, but, this is her first time with like a non person that doesn't know anything about this training. Um, so it's fun to get to see that for you. And it'll just be, if we record again in the future, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I learned so much because everybody does. And everybody says it's their favorite part,
Really?
which is interesting. I don't know if you'll say the same because you might be like, oh, the nerves got me. But
The nerves, right.
everybody else has said they just loved it because it's like putting all that you've learned into action.
I guess that would be empowering, like to take it to somebody who doesn't know and can't like tell you what you're gonna say next and that sort of
Right.
thing, like being able to see the benefit of, yeah, I could totally understand that. I mean, yes, I am a little bit more in tune with my nerves these days, but uh,
And where do I want to go next with this? I was thinking of like, mm, I guess I was gonna think like, so maybe the question I'd like to ask is like, is there a point in your life, maybe from childhood or somewhere in your journey, where you feel like somebody made you feel a certain way about your confidence or about like, oh, well, this person's better at XYZ than you, so that you really kind of wired yourself in a way out of protection to avoid, pushing that edge? Is there anything that comes to mind
yeah, well, I mean,
that you feel comfortable sharing?
no, kind of, I've heard from multiple people it ends up with like having that dictatorial parent that kind of like has a very short fuse and just, overly stressed and trying to like just get you to act or say or whatever a certain way. I guess my sister and I grew up in a way that like more fear-based, I guess, than anything. It kind of created that people pleaser in me where I found that everything was calm and everyone was quiet as long as I say the right thing, do the right thing, don't make noise, just be a good little girl. And then I kept getting all of this praise and all of this, that's where the love came in, as long as if I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. But I found that it was easier if I knew ahead of time. So I learned how to read the behaviors and the facial expressions and now to a point, to a fault, even, like trying to dissect what people actually mean, like not listening to the words that they're saying, but more like how they're emoting, and then misinterpreting a lot of times and just, taking it personal, taking everything personally and just getting into this idea that it was like, I need to please everybody at the expense of myself, really. And so, yeah, that's kind of where it all led to, I guess.
That is very well said. And yeah, I loved the last line, and pleasing everybody else at the expense of myself. Yeah, and we just talked about that with Julia. Whenever if that happens before this podcast, it's kind of a similar situation there. And I just think that's so common for women, that we, especially women that grew up with any sort of discord in their family, for lack of a better word. It's just a survival mechanism, and we talk all about that, of course, in the program. And just it's a trauma response, the fawn trauma response of people pleasing.
Yeah. And then one of the biggest light bulbs that hit me that almost sent me into another, well, it did send me into another spiral, was the idea of I told myself my whole childhood that I was being this great, perfect little girl that was doing all of the right things. And look at all the people that liked me and were happy with me and smiling at me. And like, I still get told that when I'm angry or sad or frustrated, I smile. And I say, like, I grimace, but no, I'm trained to look happy even when I'm not, because if I'm not happy, other people are not happy. And so it's like push all of the stuff down and then try to make everyone else feel better in the process. And I realized the word for that was enabling. Like I was enabling so many people in my life to like use me or like not necessarily use me, but like lean on me in a way. I was feeding them the things they wanted to hear and like, just telling them all the placating things that like the band-aids that it'll be fine, and that became a trigger for me over the course of this year now, knowing how empty that is and how you're not even reaching the true meat of the situation. You're just kind of, avoiding. It's really, and so it was kind of like, oh my gosh, I thought I was helping people and now I've just been enabling people to get further into their own trauma and mental, and it was like, oh my gosh. But the awareness of that has really enhanced the relationships in my life now that I've become aware of it.
Of course.
Yeah,
And in the end, it's all perfect somehow, and it's never
it
what it feels
is.
like, right? Like, you didn't
Exactly.
make people worse, like that's
Yeah,
probably what they needed at that time. And now
it
that
is.
you're setting stronger boundaries, I remember we talked about boundaries right away in the
Oh,
beginning.
right, exactly. I know. And it's helped me be aware of the places that I can set those boundaries to become more effective in the way that I'm interacting with people. And it was helpful. It was like, and you're right. I mean, yes, we got through what we got through, and everybody, I mean, I have great relationships with people. It's just now I feel like I can be more effective in the way that I help, I guess, in
Yes. You can
becoming
be more
better.
effective because you're being who you really are. I
Yeah.
know we're both fans of Joe Dispenza, but it's like when you
Yeah.
are like letting go of those survival mechanisms that you developed unconsciously out of the trauma that we all, it's people get so scared of that word trauma, but we all have it to some degree or another, some of us more than
Mhm.
others. And
Mhm.
like you develop a whole persona. That's the sad part about healing that nobody really talks about, is like once you start really diving into healing, you have to deal with the pain of like, damn, I created a whole personality that wasn't even
Yes.
real. It wasn't even who I really am. It was just based out of survival.
Mhm.
And so that's why I think that there's a lot of struggle with the ego throughout the program too, right? Because it's like
Yes.
the ego, it's like wants to hold on to what it knows again,
Exactly.
even with your identity. And so, yeah, there's just so much. There's so much that
It is. It's so much. And I had no idea, no idea what I was getting into. But I'm very grateful. Like, I mean, it's one of those things. Yes, it's hard to work through some of it, but at the end, like when you look back, it's just like, wow, it was beyond worth it to just feel the things, feel it all, like not avoid it and not be afraid of it. So that's super nice.
I love that, Jess. I What would you, just to kind of sum up, what would you tell somebody who's maybe like where you were last March and it's just like, oh, it sounds great. I feel this like yes in my heart, but XYZ reasons and all the fears, like what would you tell that person?
Yeah, I would just say follow your heart because it's not wrong. That's the one thing that you can trust, and everything else is just little stories you've made up along the way that you can get to the bottom of in this course.
That's amazing, Jess. Well, I'm so excited to see all of the people you're going to help throughout your lifetime, like that's really what it's about. I know I've said that to Jess so many times in those places where she kind of went into that fear, that we all go into, that it's just like, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, the Lightworker Academy, it's everything I've been looking for, but I don't know, who am I to do this? And it's really, like, really honestly, from a very non-attached place, I can say, like, it's really not about you.
No.
It's not about you. It's like, if you feel the yes, you probably made some sort of contract, if you believe in that, that, that your soul came here to do a certain thing in this lifetime that we're in, which is a very intense, crazy ass what's not life, but like time that we're all in right now. It's very accelerated. it there's massive awakenings happening on the planet, and every single light worker is a part of that. Like, we all play a part in that. And Jessica, your part is going to look different than my part, and my part's going to look different than Julie's part, and so on and so forth, right? So, but if we don't say yes to that and get past our own crap, because that's all it is, it's just our own crap that's like, oh, who am I to do this, then we're really doing a disservice to those people that are waiting for you. And I really believe that with every cell of my being. Again, I'm not saying this to convince anybody to do anything. It's just really my belief system that, like, I don't know where I would be if I wasn't doing what I'm doing right now. I honestly don't. Like, that's all I know, it's all I can do, and I will continue to do it. And it brings so much joy when you're living, however you do. If you're doing it part-time, if you're, doing it like once a month, helping somebody, like, it doesn't matter how you do it, but there's people waiting for you. And I know that, Jess.
Thank you.
And it's exciting. I'm excited to see
Yes.
how it all unfolds for you.
Thank you. Me too.
Sorry, I went on a little tangent there, but it had to be said.
Super exciting and so sweet. And it's just wonderful to have a supportive coach and teacher at the head of it, to be able to shine the light and guide people forward.
Yeah. And it does, like, I want to also share, like, the support doesn't end just when the program's over. Like, Jess and I have met for coffee. We're lucky to live in the same place, but there's people that live all over that do this. But, the support continues as, forever, because once you're in my tribe, you're there, and there's no getting rid of me. Unless you're like, Erin, thank you, but I need some space. And I'll be like, okay.
No.
Jess and I know that's probably not going to happen for us. So
no.
So lovely to have you. I'm so excited to see what's next. We'll probably have to have you on in like 6 months or something again, and see how just think about 6 months from now, after you've seen, I don't know, 3 people, but there's going to be more. Like, oh, what can happen? What can happen in 6 months?
That would be interesting for sure.
We'll plan on it.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening. Thank you for watching, if you're watching this on YouTube. And I look forward to having you, or I look forward to you listening to the next one, however we want to say that. We'll see you for now. And there's links below the video about the Lightworker Academy if you're interested in taking it, or below the podcast, or message me on Instagram at Pure Light Healing, or Facebook at Pure Light Healing. I would love to share that with you. It is currently open right now. And so, yeah, exciting stuff. Thank you, Jess, for being here.
Thank you.